to share a quote or a nugget of wisdom that they continue to live by in their professional career. I thought Peter's was particularly appropriate for this morning's session, which he's titled Wrestling with the Score, Finding Meaning Behind the Notes. His quote is, "A score is a window, not a wall." I know we're all looking forward to hearing his thoughts on this topic.
Finding Meaning Behind the Notes. That's an old title, Overcoming Obstacles to Meaningful Interpretation. I like the new title better, Finding Meaning Behind the Notes. So the technology may or may not, hopefully it will work. And if I speak into this, it's okay. I'll be moving around between this and the computer and the piano, so I'll be walking around. So I'm giving 3 talks this weekend. First one was on Beethoven, which is close to my heart, as you know. This one is another one that I've spent pretty much my life trying to figure out how to bring life to the printed page. I think that's our job, basically, right? And let me see. Can you still hear me up here? Is my mic on? Yeah? Okay. I'll try to speak up. It's early in the morning. My phone this morning was stuck on Central Time, so I woke up an hour earlier than I wanted to. And I reset my watch, but the watch is just analog, you know, whatever. Anyway, that's my life story for this morning. Yeah, so one of the problems with us looking at a score is that it's printed neatly on a nice new edition, right? These days we have amazing editions called Urtext, which are supposedly free of any editorial interference. So they look super clean. In fact, I have one, let me see. I'm a complete addict to new editions. That's how I spend my money. The little of it that I have, these are beautiful. It's a new edition of Beethoven sonatas. They come out in separate issues. So this one is the one I'm playing tonight, 81A. It's published by Baron. The cover is like chocolate, really, really nice. Same color as my CD, so you know, I got the same idea. Beautiful notes about interpretation, and fantastic editorial notes in the back about various, you know, it's a complete model Urtext edition. They also printed on kind of yellowish paper, so it looks kind of like old. You know, it's really, really pretty. So it costs money, of course. Don't let me forget. You can pass it around if you like. So the problem is that the score it looks kind of like problem-free. As long as you play what's on the page, you're good, right? It says crescendo, you play crescendo, etc., diminuendo, whatever. But unfortunately, the story is a lot more complicated than that. And you know, I have to make a caveat here that the music I talk about, a lot of it is for advanced players, because I teach college-level kids. But I think some of these concepts can be useful for all teachers, hopefully, about how to make sense of the notes, right? So I have a series of points here. Let's see if the machine works. That's the score that I've been talking about. So just as an example, let me show you the first page of Beethoven's Opus 109 in Henley. It's really nice, clean. Henley has fingerings, and you can argue about whether you want fingerings or not. I personally don't like fingerings from other people, because they may have a hand that's bigger than mine or smaller than mine, or some of the Henley fingerers are kind of what I call Germanic. So the fingerings are sort of like torturous. They like us to suffer for our art. So I don't like it, and I personally prefer an edition without fingerings. And the Bärenreiter, no fingerings. So that's one little issue with this stuff. Otherwise, it's pretty clean. The other problem with Henley, not a problem, but a decision is, in Beethoven, they decided that all staccato notes should have dots on them. I don't know if there's any here. Yeah, there's some dots here. I have another little tool. This is really great. Beethoven staccatos were very irregular. Sometimes they were like little dashes. Sometimes they were like long dashes, and sometimes they were short dashes, because he got very excited when he was composing. So you can't really tell what size they are. So Henley decided they're all going to be dots. Okay, that's just an editorial decision. So you can see, ooh, does this show anything? Yeah, there it is. Not much. There's some dots down here. Those are staccatos. In the Bärenreiter that I'm passing around, they decided they're going to put little dashes instead of dots. Means the same thing. Means staccato. That's the new religion, is dashes instead of dots. I mean, if they were trying to actually do what Beethoven wrote, they would have to be different size dashes. And that would be weird, because we don't really know for sure. So this is Henley. It's got fingering, it's got dots. Otherwise, it's very reliable, trustworthy. That's the edition I use for my recordings. I'm going to show you the next. This one is the first edition. I think it's 1818 or something like that. And it looks a little less nifty, because the printing was not as advanced in those days. It's quite accurate. It's very nice. But first editions are cool. There's a series of Beethoven sonatas first edition that you can buy for about $400. I have it, you know. I'm just an addict. But there are mistakes, you know, there are problems with it. For example, that piano there is supposed to be really on the next eighth, like here. But it's too early. So they messed up, you know, so they made a mistake. When editors put together an Urtext edition, they always consult that, which is first edition. But there are other sources for scores. There are, of course, manuscripts. And there are sketches, Beethoven sketches. I've tried to read Beethoven sketches. I can't make any sense of them, because he was walking through the woods writing down ideas for the Fifth Symphony. Oh, maybe, let's see, violin concerto. I have an idea for this song. So there are these messy things. But there are people out there who are experts in reading the sketches, and they're really interesting, because sometimes they show wrong choices. He'll have an idea for something, he'll cross it out and then do something else. And I think Julian asked me the other day, did he have a genius for deciding what's the right solution? And my answer was that Beethoven was, I'm not going to talk only about Beethoven today, but he's my man. He was a very hard-working composer. He had to try different things, and he worked. He was not like Mozart. Mozart supposedly just had everything in his head, just wrote it down, supposedly. But it seems like he always made the right choice in the end. Okay? So that's first edition, very useful. It's available. Now I'm going to show you the manuscript. Are you ready? First page of Opus 109. Beethoven handwriting. Okay. I love his manuscripts because they're kind of, you can see the creative process in his brain. This doesn't show up very well, but he changed his mind about the tempo. It says vivace, and it says vivace ma non troppo. Up here it says sempre legato, he says, legato. He writes piano dolce here. It's really cool. Now out here, he ran out of space. So you had to draw some extra lines. And this one was probably a burn from a match trying to light a candle, something like that. And sometimes there are like coffee stains and this kind of thing. So this is really the original idea for Opus 109 is Beethoven's manuscript. And this one went to the publisher. So they had to figure out what the heck he wrote, you know. This is supposedly so-called fair copy, okay? Let me see. So the urtext is not exactly the ultimate story. You have to do a little digging. And that's kind of the gist of my lecture today, is that there's more stuff behind what you see on the page. I love urtext, I buy them, but it's just not enough. Many of these are available in your library, if you want to look. I want to tell you a story. Let's see. I went to the Beethoven's birth house in Bonn, my first time there, when I was recording. And I went to the library. They have a fantastic library. You can see photocopies of everything. So I was there at 8 a.m. Fortunately, my phone was working. And I spent my day in the library looking at various copies. And the director of the archives came to me and he said, "You look like somebody who really cares about Beethoven, so would you like to see an original manuscript?" And you're supposed to have special approval from the Ministry of Education or something like that. So I said, yes, yes, please. It was like 4:30. They closed at 5. So we went down. There's this kind of basement with bomb-proof shelves made of steel. And he said, "What would you like to see?" And I said, "Well, I'm practicing 111. So he pulled out a shelf and he took out the original manuscript of Opus 111. And he put it on a table. He trusted me. He said, "You have half an hour." And he left. I started crying. Yeah. I mean, this was Beethoven's handwriting, the real thing. It was really unbelievable. So, you know, it's mystical, really. I mean, you can't really duplicate that. And I've seen others since then, but that first experience was really so special to me. So, so when you're thinking about the score, there's a lot of issues. Now, some of these urtexts have fantastic notes in the back, and I check them regularly. Every bar has some kind of issue. In the original edition, there's this, but then in the manuscript, there's this. There's a letter from Beethoven saying, "I changed my mind about this, so please scratch it out and put something else in there." So you never quite know what the final, ultimate right idea is, but you can at least try, right? And speaking of the final idea, you know, we have a score that says this is as close as we can get to the composer's final thought. I mean, this is the official, and there probably isn't such a thing. You know, one thing you can think about is that a lot of these guys, like Mozart, Beethoven, I don't know about Haydn, certainly Chopin, were improvisers. They like to play different things. And for example, Chopin, the word was that he never played the same thing twice the same way. Sometimes the accompaniment was da-da-dee-da-dee-da. Other times it's da-da-dee-da-dee. And he changed it. Now, can we change it? We're not Chopin, you know. But we know that it was always a fluid process, you know. And then at a certain point with Chopin, he had to submit to the publisher because that's the way they made money. So he would really agonize about what should be my final version. Should I do dee-da-dee-da-dee or dee-da-dee-da-dee? And he said, "Well, I guess I'll go with this one." So he sent that in, and that's the engraved in stone version that we all get. But it may be that the next time he played something else. So we can't change it because we're not Chopin. But at least you know that there was fluidity there. Here's a question. This is called wrestling with the score, right? Can we ever change anything from the score? That's a really tough question. Now, a student shouldn't. You know, they say, learn the rules first before you learn to break the rules, right? So you can't just go and say, I don't like it piano here. I think I'm going to play forte instead. Shouldn't do that because that's, you know. However, it's possible that as you get wiser and older like me, that you might be able to make some decisions that are not in the score. And I say that with complete total warning that it's not a free pass. But for example, again, in Beethoven, the register of the piano was 5 octaves, right? His piano went from F to F, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. It was a 5. His early piano was 5 octaves. And he always hated that he didn't have extra notes. He was annoyed. So you can see sometimes when he tries to write something higher, it doesn't have it. He has to change it. He has to make it fit in the F. And occasionally, it may be okay to extend the register because later on, he got bigger pianos, and he always used extra notes. Then his next piano, I think, went to C. I think that's as far as he went. So for example, let's see. I had it in my yesterday lecture. How's it go? And then up here, I mean, to me, it's obvious he wanted the high notes, didn't have them. So he had to play. And how do I know that? Because later on, it goes in A flat major. Okay. No problem with the upper notes. So it's a decision. I listened to Malcolm Bilson once. He played that sonata. And he played first what Beethoven wrote, and then on the repeat, he played the higher notes, you know. I would go that one goes as high as A flat. I wouldn't go much higher than that, because then it starts sounding unstylistic. But there's some places like, I don't know if I remember. He wants to go to F sharp, but doesn't have it, so he has to do some little doodle. I would go to F sharp for sure, but not the students. You know, you have to at least get your bachelor's before you start changing notes. And you might get some flack from somebody, say you're playing notes that the composer didn't write. And you can have a good reason, say the piano stopped at F, he wanted more. I think we should give him more, because now we have the notes. It's a moral judgment, you know, if you're going to change or not. However, I think sometimes it's okay. But you have to have a very good reason, and you have to be old enough to do it. Let me see. A word of advice to students. Please know all of the terms that are printed. It's really something with my students. I asked them, what does sostenuto mean? They said, well, they should know sostenuto, right? What does lusingando mean? And I always say, wait a minute. If you're a surgeon and you're following instructions, but they're like in Japanese, because the machine is Japanese, would you look that up to say, please do not cut this vein or whatever? So what the heck's going on here? So you gotta, I think online there's probably dictionaries now, or there's certainly books of musical terms, but you know, Italian we sort of know, although lusingando not a lot of people know. There's German ones. I have a little trouble with German, like, what do they say? Ziemlich bewegt or something, ziemlich bewegt. It means somewhat moving, right? So you have to kind of understand the nuances, right? And then there's French, right? Because Debussy often has French. En dehors, he says. He said, what's en dehors? I say, don't know. So I yell at them. You know, they should know. You know, you should know what the terms mean. Let's see. This is still on the topic of trying to understand what the score is about. Let's see. This one's called, I call it genre. It's a nice word that musicologists use. It's French, and it means what kind of piece is this? A type of piece, right? Seems a little esoteric, but it's very helpful sometimes to understand what a piece is about if you know what kind of piece it is. For example, it's especially helpful in Bach because A piece could be like a allemande or a gigue, right? Or a prelude or whatever. So this is a nice piece. This is the theme of the Goldberg variations. It's beautiful, just beautiful, lyrical, gorgeous. It says aria. There's no tempo marking. So I'm going to talk more about tempo this afternoon. So some of these things overlap. How do we know how fast it should go? Could be allegro, could be adagio, could be something, right? I mean, it seems fairly relaxed. It's not a virtuoso type piece. And this, it's been recorded, 500 times? Everybody has a different tempo for the theme. It's free for all, right? How do we know what the right tempo is? And I don't know if you may remember Rosalind Turek. She was the priestess of Bach, right? She was a great pianist and musician. So I'm not making fun of her, but she played, right? Well, that's no good. I'm sorry. It's just no good. It's too slow. And the reason I say it's too slow is because this piece has a genre or a type of piece, and he guesses what kind of Bach dance is it. If you look at the second bar, it stops on the second beat, triple meter, right? So it's a saraband. This is a saraband, a beautiful one. So saraband is a graceful court dance. It's really beautiful. So you can't dance to this. No way, right? And I've heard it played also too fast. It's not graceful, it's not beautiful. So there's a right tempo for this piece because of the type of piece it is. I think it's nice. Do you like it? It's a saraband, okay? So that helped us. There's no tempo marking. The next one that I have is also saraband. By the way, we're going to try to get a link to this PowerPoint, so Carla's going to work on it. So maybe later today, if you want it, you can access it, or you can copy it, okay? Because I don't have printouts for this one. This is 109, third movement. Nice. He started writing some tempos in German. Gesang voll mit innigster Empfindung. Very nice marking. Cantabile with innermost feeling, okay? Strangely, the German doesn't have a tempo marking. The Italian is andante molto cantabile espressivo, so it's beautiful. It happens to be a saraband as well. Same tempo as the Bach, maybe? Beautiful. About different mood a little bit than the Bach. It's a little bit more chorale style, a little bit. But it has a saraband tempo. It says andante. I think it's pretty appropriate. Okay? But it's helpful to know what kind of piece are we doing. Yep. Let's see here. As I said, some of these things overlap with my afternoon lecture. I told you I'm talking about the things I love, which is Beethoven, the score, and rhythm. So it's all good stuff. So we have genre, that's in French. The next one's in Italian. Tempo giusto. I like that word, meaning the right tempo. Tempo giusto. It's nice. Doesn't mean anything. I mean, what's the right tempo? How do we know? I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but in terms of, let me see if I can, I don't know if I can get into my other stuff here. Probably not. Okay. I struggle with tempo, and I'll talk about it more later, but it's so important to find the right tempo for every piece. And sometimes allegro or whatever doesn't help. It could be allegro assai or allegro molto or allegro vivace or whatever. It helps to have, you know, some indications. There's one piece by Beethoven, again, it's the Opus 26 Sonata, really nice minuet with variations. It's a minuet, so that makes sense. I've heard it played a lot slower. I think in the old days people played slower, like in the 19th century. How's it? Too slow. It's not a minuet, okay? There's a variation in minor. It's kind of somber, A flat minor, and probably should be slight bit slower than the theme. The next variation is a nice one in A flat major. There's no tempo indication at all. There's no change. So it goes. Sorry. It's a little bit of a scherzo. And there's no tempo change. So from 2, 3. The next variation is like Death Warmed Over, okay? And it's sometimes it's played maybe slightly faster than that, but to me it just dies on the vine, okay? So I struggle with it, I wrestle with it. I decided that there's some kind of little tempo modulation going on where the previous 16th note equals the new 8th note. It works out really nice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, T. So it's double tempo. Would Beethoven approve? I have no idea. Some of my friends don't approve. They say it doesn't say tempo change, should stay the same. Just doesn't make sense. So I changed it. I think it sounds pretty good if you listen to it online. I'm on Spotify too. Anyway, so that's the tempo giusto idea. You have to try to find the right pulse, the right feeling, the right mood for every piece. I'll talk about more this afternoon. I call it X-ray. It's a very good skill, and I think maybe for young students too, to be able to just take the basics of the music and maybe get rid of some of the ornamental things. Like if you have an Alberti bass, maybe just play a chord instead of da-dee, 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 just play to get the harmony and to get the basic horizontal or vertical lineup, and then play the melody. So you get, I call it like a skeleton of the music. Play the melody, play the harmony. It's hard to do because we're used to playing what's out printed on the page, but it's a good skill to be able, let's say, consolidate harmonies. I don't know, what's a good example? Maybe why not? Whatever it is, or even make it into a chorale, why not? I've got a very complicated example. I'm not going to play it because it means practicing. But it's very good. X-ray is very good for complicated texture music like Rachmaninoff and stuff like that. And it's not easy to actually capture the essence of harmony melody without all the extra stuff. This is from Jeu d'eau by Ravel. This is a difficult page. See if I can find the music. Can't really play it, but it's music with a lot of notes. But the interesting thing about this particular page is that the melody is not too complicated, and the harmony is findable, but it's hard. It's in the left hand. So it would be something like it's difficult music, it's not for beginners. But I made an X-ray copy of it. I got my X-ray machine, and I wrote it out. Okay, that's how I spend my time when I'm bored. So the harmony is in the left hand. It's very consolidated, and the melody doesn't have all that, but it's just melody and harmony. This is a nice one. Might be worth. So that one is basically, and it's complicated, but it's basically simple. So if you want to play, I don't know, basically, why not? Same hand. Consolidate the harmony, play the melody. Or just play the melody by itself. Sometimes it's just okay. And then of course, it's much harder and has to be practiced, but you have the basic bones in place. So I'm not sure how to, does anybody do that, like consolidate harmonies in your teaching? Yeah. It's worth it because you hear the basics and you get rid of some of the ornamental stuff, which is obviously totally important, but it can be added in later, it can be filled in. That's my X-ray idea for the score. That one's a complicated one, but you can do whatever. I don't know. It'd be, especially like Alberti bass, kind of boring, so play chords. It's really nice. It's kind of internal evidence. It's like detective work, right? Sometimes I tell my son, you have to be Sherlock Holmes. You have to dig for clues, you know. This one I like a lot because I probably should have been a lawyer because I like the small print, you know. I like to find, like a spelling fiend. I'm just terrible online. I correct people's spelling, you know. So I'm not very popular on Facebook. But what I like to do in any kind of piece that has repeated material is to compare different sections, like let's say exposition to recap. And you also have to know these composers were unbelievably busy. I mean, they had to write, I mean, look at Schubert. He died at 31. He wrote 600 songs. He wrote however symphonies, 9 maybe. He wrote piano sonatas, everything. I mean, some people say there's no way you can write all those notes in 31 years. But he did. So they were in a hurry, and sometimes there are like discrepancies, or they forget, or they get absent-minded, or something like that. And I say that with total and full respect for these geniuses. But I always compare, say, is there a reason that they changed something? Sometimes there's a good reason. They wanted a variation or something. Sometimes it's just like absent-minded. So then you have a decision, you know, Should I make them the same or should I not? Okay. Here's a nice little detective story. Do I still have my little pen? I think so. Here it is. Okay, this is a manuscript of, speaking of manuscript with Beethoven, he obviously wrote everything in longhand, sent it to the publisher. Then it was published. Then he could make some money, which is good. And then for the early sonatas, he just like threw out the manuscript in the trash. So it's published, it's done, you know, who needs all this? And about Opus 26, 27, say, you know, maybe I should hang on to these things. So after Opus 26, we have manuscript of a lot of them. Not all, but some. So thank you. Also Brahms, he would write a piece, he said, no, it's not good enough, you throw it in the trash. Very self-critical. I said, don't throw it in the trash, for God's sakes. It's probably really good. Even poor Brahms is better than most. But you know, he was critical. This is a famous conundrum in Opus 90, second movement, pretty piece. It's kind of Schubertian, if I can still play it, I don't know. Really pretty. I'll get the music so I can play it better. There's a spot in here that has always bugged me. Let's see. I need the music to play the thing. It's right. Does it still work? Right there. That note, I don't know what it is. It's from this little sweet spot here. Let's see if I can play it. That A bugs me. It should be a G sharp, but we don't know what it is. And Henley edition has an A. It's very boring. Should be E. And then E, there. Later it goes in octave. The second time it happens, it goes to G sharp. So Henley has an A there. The new English edition has a G sharp. We don't know. But it's a rondo, right? So that's going to happen at least 2 more times. So we're in good shape, right? We can check the next one and see what's there. Internal evidence, right? All right, the next time it happens, I have a copy of it. You know what Beethoven writes? He writes the melody and he says, come sopra. Do it like the first time. I said, wait a minute, I don't know what the first time is supposed to be, so can you please write it out? He doesn't do it. The third time it happens, it says, come sopra. He says, repeat it exactly. I say, what the heck? I can't find I don't know if it's an A or a G sharp. You see what he does? He just writes the squiggle line and he says, come sopra. Like the first time. Well, the first time is ambiguous, so I don't know what to do. However, there's one last time it happens, and the melody comes in the left hand. It's right there. You can see it. Let me see, do I have that page? I need it. It happens in the left hand. So he inverts them. That's the only time when it's different from the come sopra part. So he goes, where is it? Come sopra. I need the score. I should know this better, but I don't. Do you see what I'm talking about? The melody comes right there. Where is it? Starts here. Here's our spot. Right there. G sharp. G sharp. Eureka. You know, if I can. How's it go? Perfect. Nice knot. Okay, it seems like a detail, but that A always bugged me. And I finally I call it kaching. Yeah. Because every other variation is like come sopra. So that's internal evidence. Am I right? I don't know. I think so. I think sometimes when he made a mistake, instead of he wrote in ink, he would like spit on his finger and just wipe it out and then write something instead. He was a sloppy guy. You know, what are you going to do? So anyway, that's a good way to find the truth, I think. There's your G sharp. You see it? Beautiful. Clear as day. No problems. Right there, G sharp. Ah, love it. Internal evidence. What else do we have here? We're doing on time. Okay. Now, yesterday I told you, like, in some recitatives and stuff, I like to put words to it because it helps me to feel the music better. Like the Tempest. Ich bin verloren. Remember, I am abandoned, which is probably what the story is there. If we think about it as being some kind of a shipwreck story, the Tempest. So my next category is called words. And I think it's okay to put words to things. Some people don't like it because maybe it's like sounds trivial or something. I like it. Like with Schumann, if you put Clara to something, I think it's okay because he always wrote for Clara, right? For example, I don't know, in the Davidsbunder, Clara. How's it going? Clara, Clara. Oh, it makes it much more, oops, emotional. So I put words to things. I don't know if I'm right. Second theme of Waldstein. What do I say? Because you got, it's kind of vigorous movement, but it's very sweet. It's marked dolce, legato. Why not? Ach, meine Liebe. It's good. Ach, meine Liebe. I hope I didn't ruin the Waldstein for you just now. One German guy told me, don't put words to it, you know, it's too cheap. But to me, it's like, why not? Oh, how I love you, maybe. Oh, how I love you. It helps. It's dolce, it's sweet. So I like words. Here's a little detective story. This is from Schumann G minor sonata, the second movement, marked andantino. Andantino and getragen, which means sostenuto. It's really, really beautiful. Do I have the music? Maybe I can play a little bit. Beautiful second movement. Beautiful. And then it goes on to gorgeous, right? So what's the mood of this piece? It's mellow. It's kind of, yeah, I'd say maybe mellow. I don't know about the metronome marking. I think it's pretty good. So you kind of guess at the mood, which I think is really important for any piece. But for this one, there's a little extra story. because it's based on a song by Schumann, which I didn't know until some colleague of mine told me. Did you know that was based on a song? I said, no idea. And the song is really beautiful. It's called Im Herbste. This is for the second movement of Schumann G minor sonata. I had some kind of, I don't know how to get out of this and get into my, and I don't want to get out because then I'll never get back in. Let's see. Im Herbste means in the autumn. And I had written that, yeah. It's a different meter. Not 6/8, but it's really gorgeous. Im Herbst means in the autumn, so that's kind of mellow, right? When the leaves are turning and everything. And the words are just fantastic. It's a poem by Kerner. Zieh nur du Sonne, zieh island von here, von here. It says, please, sun, go away from here because I want to be the only source of warmth for my love. And he says, welk nur ihr Blumen, welk, schweigt nur ihr Vögelein. It says, flowers, please wilt. Birds, please stop singing, because I want to be the only one that blossoms and sings for my love. It's incredible. So I didn't know that, but now that I know that, I can play the piano piece better, because I have a feel for what he was saying, which is so romantic, you know, and obviously has to do with Clara. So that's helpful. I don't know if there's many pieces like that that are based on songs. Schubert wrote some based on his lieder and so on. So you can put words to things, and occasionally you get a little clue from a colleague that says, you know, this is based on a song. I said, oop, I didn't know, but I know now. It's a beautiful song. You can find it on YouTube. I think it's for a tenor. And the tempo marking is langsam und ausdrucksvoll, slow and expressive. The other one is andantino, getragen. So I don't know why andantino. It doesn't make too much sense. I like this one better. Okay. My next category of thinking about the score is, I talked about it yesterday, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time. It's the horn piece by Beethoven that I'm playing tonight. It's a good story, you know, about the departure and the return. It's that one. And I have a picture of my score. I don't do, you know, Finale or Sibelius printing. I'm not good at it, but we have students who are really good, so they print it out for me. That's my score for the Les Adieux. Horns in E flat, die Lebewohl, strings and winds. I'm kind of proud of that one. Orchestrated. So instruments can help. I don't know, this one, what instruments play this after? Maybe that's like strings for the orchestra. Flute. How about this one? Maybe winds. Oboe, clarinet, bassoon. It's nice. And this one, maybe clarinets, bassoons, maybe a horn or two. Horns, yeah? You think? Well, it could be. Could be. It's hard to play espressivo, but yeah, it's helpful to think instruments. This one I will also talk about later this afternoon, changing bar lines. But I'll just mention a little bit. This is Opus 111, first movement. It's kind of annoying because the main theme, this one, That's main theme. Ram pam pam, ram pam bim pam 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 pam. That happens here. It's on the downbeat, and here somewhere else it's not on the downbeat. Yeah, this one starts. Is it this? Yeah, that one starts on the downbeat. That one also starts on the down. Where does this start on? Like not the downbeat. Here's, are they all the same? Am I screwed up? Ram, pum, pa. I know it happens in different places. Dim, pum, 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 yeah, here the B natural is on the downbeat. Here the B natural is on the third beat. I'm not screwed up. So it's the same material. Dum, pum, 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 pum. Sometimes it starts on the downbeat, so it would be yum, pum, pa. Sometimes it goes to the dum, pum. Should we play it differently or should we play it the same? Because it's in different parts of the bar. And I think we should play them the same. Where's the downbeat? Is it on a C or on the B natural? I'm not sure. Yum, pum, bim, pum, 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 bim, pum. Maybe it's on the C. That would be jump, or if it's on the B, pum, 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 pum. You can put it on the B. So then this one, the bar line should be before the B. That's the downbeat. Here it is on the downbeat. I think other places it's not on the downbeat. Yeah, like here it's on the third beat. So I was not confused. Yeah, that's this forzano is downbeat. Here it's on the third beat. So I like to change bar lines and move them around to find where the beat is. You find that in Bach all the time. You know, sometimes it's in 4/4. Occasionally there's like an extra half bar. It goes into like a 3/2. Thank you. So the important thing, you know, again, it's what's printed and what's implied in the music are two different things. So you have to do a little bit of adjustment. Fourth blow on. That's a word that my teacher, Mr. Fleischer, talks about. It's kind of my last thought. The wisdom of the material. I mean, this music is powerful and great, and it's saying something to us. And we have to listen to the secret message inside the music. And sometimes it goes against what's printed, like the bar lines or whatever other information we get. So I like to always ask my students, actually, what's the mood? What does this piece feel like? Is it happy? Is it sad? I mean, is it mellow? Is it melancholy? Is it angry? Is it scared? You know, if it says agitato, it's scared. So I think there's feeling in music at all times. I don't believe that music is kind of an abstract, pure art. It's telling a story. I like to think about stories. What's inside this music? For example, tonight I'm playing the C minor impromptu of Schubert. It's a wonderful piece. It's just great, you know. What's the story? Of course, it does many other things through the piece. Does anybody have any thoughts? It's pianissimo. Yeah, it's no good. Pam, pa, pam, 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 pa, pa, pam, pam. My story is, I call it a tired soldier. The tired soldier. It's very lonely. It's kind of coming home from the war. It's still military in a way, pam, pa, pam, but it's very tired. And then when it comes in chords, It's kind of like military march. It's really wonderful. Hope you enjoyed tonight. So I have a story that goes with that piece. Was Schubert thinking that? I don't know. But you know, he wrote a lot of songs about tired soldiers or tired, jilted lovers or whatever. So he definitely has stories to his music, especially the songs. So that helps me put life into that music because he has a meaning to it. One other one that I'm playing tonight is Polonaise Fantasy by Schubert. Very rhapsodic. But the title suggests something to me, a story about that piece. Polonaise Fantasy. Polonaise is a proud Polish song, right? It's about being a noble Polish patriot, whatever, usually military. The fantasy part is more about not being sure of what's going on. It's kind of like confused a little bit. So to me, it's the story of a Polish refugee to France and thinking about his country. So to me, it's a Polonaise fantasy. So occasionally he tries to get kind of proud Polish. And then I'm a Pole, but I'm in France. So I'm not sure. I miss my country kind of thing. So it's a very moving piece. It's about being homesick, actually. It ends in triumph, you know, so it says, yes, I will be back to my country eventually. So that's a story for that one. And do all pieces have stories? I don't know. I kind of think so. I don't know, maybe this one doesn't have a story, like... It's kind of a little toccata or something. So it's a kind of piece, but I don't think it tells a particular story. But there are pieces of Bach that tell stories, like maybe it... I think it's something about the suffering of Christ, maybe. It's very pensive and lamenting inside. So with Bach, I always worry, because I've asked, there was a Bach specialist in Oberlin recently, Mr. Christoph Wolff, he's at Harvard. He wrote a big book on Bach. And I asked him, is there personal feeling in Bach, or is it all kind of religious feeling? It's about Christ, or it's about God. And he said they kind of come together, he said. It's kind of about God, but it's also about himself. So that was very reassuring to me, because you try to play Bach and you try not to over-romanticize. But I think there's a danger of under-romanticizing too, to think that Bach is devoid of feeling or it's academic or whatever. It's old music. So I'm going to stop there, and thank you for your patience. I appreciate it. Thank you. Wrestling with this one. Thank you very much. Thank you. So if there are any questions, or, you know, just remember, don't change anything unless you know enough to break the rules. Yes?
You have a story with a
Fidelio, because it starts dark. But then, you know, every time he goes to a singing part, he writes, do you know that? Good question. He writes rinforzando. He wants to, that's when the the person comes out. He does it the same in the Waldstein second movement. The melody says rinforzando, which means reinforce, stronger. So I think, to me, those are Fidelio pieces. Thanks for the question. It's my favorite. It was, by the way, Beethoven's favorite slow movement of the early pieces. He thought that was a good one. Yeah?
I was just wondering, with regards to changing the score and everything,
Yeah.
ever change something or make a decision about the score and then kind of discover something deeper or farther on in the process and then decide differently?
Yes. Yeah. I really agonize about changing anything. First movement of Opus Therion number 1 starts piano. There's no manuscript for that, only they're lost. So, and then later, comes in fortissimo at the recap. I think it should be forte at the beginning. So I play instead of piano, and there's some debate about where that piano belongs. So we don't have manuscript, so I'm pretty sure I'm right. Because then later on it repeats, it goes into piano, and then at the recap it goes fortissimo. So I play forte at the beginning. Will I go to hell for it? Probably. No, but I don't do it lightly. I mean, I really try to always compare to other things and look at all sources and so on. Listen to recordings too. Some people play forte. I have tempo issues. I'll talk about it this afternoon, where I have to change things. There's, well, like that variation in the Opus 26. I have to go faster. It's not marked. You know, one interesting thing to do as a musician is to play pieces by living composers. You know, there's a lot of them. And then you can go to the composer with a score and say, what did you mean here exactly? Did you really want this or did you want that? And there's some composers who are very mean. They say, you play what I wrote. And others are very nice. They say, you know, I think you're right. I think I should change that to the other thing. So it's not cast in stone, you know, but unfortunately our great composers are dead, so we can't talk to them. So, yeah?
If you could go back in time and ask Beethoven something, what would you ask him?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. I always imagine, what would Beethoven say if he was in this room right now? You know, first of all, he would say, why are you playing music that's 250 years old? Don't you have your own music, for God's sake? You know, I never played anything that was 250 years old. I just wrote a new one. So he would ask that. He might say, just play the way you feel, you know, I mean, or he might say, no, I really, really wanted this, you know. That's what I meant. But it's fantastic thinking exercise, right? What would Beethoven say, or what would Chopin say if you were here? Chopin was notoriously very not a nice guy. He was very critical and kind of aloof and all that stuff. But I could ask him about some tempo issues. But my new colleague at Oberlin is Dangtai Son. Just started this fall, and he's a former winner of Chopin competition. So I'm going to ask him. I have an issue in my nocturne, but I'll talk about this afternoon. What would Beethoven say? Probably the first thing is, why are you playing all that old music? Don't you have your own music, for God's sake? Then we're playing some like Stockhausen, and I say, no, just play the old stuff. No, don't get me wrong. I gave a talk last year about new music, and the thing about today is that everything goes. The title of my talk was Everything is Possible. You can write like jazz, you can write like pop, you can write electronic, you can write tonal, you can write 12-tone if you want. So it's an exciting time, actually, in modern music. In the 70s, 80s, when I went to school, you couldn't do it. You had to write like 12-tone music. You know, that was the official system. So things are good for composers. There's a lot of beautiful music being written. Yeah, so It's looking good. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you.